Next thing we're going to talk about is what to do if somebody grabs your carbine as you're maneuvering, clearing a building, whatever. Again, this is definitely has application for military operators. It's kind of stuff we trained when I did combatives with Mike back when I was in the Special Forces. I used to take my team in. We do a lot of CQB type combatives because that's what we did day to day when we were overseas. I found that if you end up in some type of scuffle in a close environment and somebody's fighting for your weapon, number one thing you have to do is maintain your weapon and don't get it fed back to your face. What do I mean by that? So if my weapon's out here and Mike grabs it and he's trying to pull it away from me, as I go to try to pull it back, all he's got to do is feed this back right into my face. The sights are going to bust your face up, knock your teeth out, and you could find yourself knocked out. This guy on top of you, beating your face in with your own weapon. So instead of jerking the weapon back to me, I want to close the distance with my weapon and maintain control of it so it can't get fed back to me and used against me. At the same time, I'm widening my base and I'm lowering my center of gravity. Sorry,
It's good.
I ground his hands on my metal magazines. He enjoyed that.
Yep.
Mike's tough though. It was good. So I'm holding this in nice and tight. Once I know that he can't get the weapon back to me, now I have a variety of options I can use to get him off of me. I can headbutt. I can transition to my blade and just give him that. There's a lot of different things I can do here, but I don't want to get swept, jerked around, or have the weapon fed back to my face. So those are some of the principles that we're going to talk about. If he grabs from, let's say, my left side, same thing. I'm pulling the weapon back in. It's under my arm. There's no way for him to pull it away from me now. My base is nice and wide, so he can't sweep me backwards. And then from here, options. I can't get to him from my head. Knife comes right out. What are we going to do from here? Thing closest to you, start stabbing and cutting. Start stabbing and cutting. And then right from there, now we're ready to get back into action. Having a blade, this is the Skallywag Dagger. I like to keep it nice and center line on my body. So if I need to get to it with my other hand, I can get to it from here and I can still go to work, but I should be able to get to my knife with both hands. This has a really nice large loop on it, so you don't have to fish around for it. Feeds right into your hand. You can use it both ways, comes right out into an ice pick grip. So then, grab from this side, I'm pulling the weapon back into me. He can't do anything with it. I can't get to him with my head. Even if I turn into him, he's gonna keep turning. Blade comes out. Once blade's out, cut him off. Cut him off. Then we're back from there. All I'm doing is just slashing. As he's grabbing from here, we know from our knife classes, if I come in and I cut up, his ability to grab, because we just cut all his flexors, these are extensors over here, these are flexors. As he's trying to grab, if I come in here and rotate that around, that's gonna cut all of his flexors on his hand. He can't grab with it anymore. He's gonna go, stop it, I hate that, don't do that anymore, right? So then from here, now he only has that. I can maneuver the weapon around and be ready to fire. The other thing is I can keep this blade in my hand and still work, get to my trigger, etc., work my safety and work from there. All right, so we went over a few different combative methods and we talked about some of the principles of things you need to apply. If you notice, like the ground stuff or getting taken down to the ground is the exact same stuff we do empty-handed, or if we're just carrying a pistol, a knife, whatever. Turn and face your opponent, try to create that distance on the way out, access your tool on the way down, set yourself up for success. So as soon as you hit the ground, tools are coming out and you're able to employ them. Remember, when you hit the ground, you've lost all your mobility. So I am less usually worried about this guy than the guys that I don't see. I always assume that I'm fighting more than one opponent. Weapons grabs. So this is another form of retention. You hear the word retention thrown around in the weapons community quite a bit. This is retention also. I'm retaining my carbine. I'm keeping it from being used against me. I'm keeping it from getting my face beat in with it. I'm doing good combative principles, which is just establish a good base, lowering my center of gravity, making sure I don't get swept. immediately getting to a tool, dealing with that problem, get your weapon back in play, get your head on a swivel, and make sure that you're safe. You know, one of the things just from doing a lot of ground fighting with you and over the years is that our goal in ground fighting, if I ever find number one, my goal is never to be on the ground because you lose your mobility. And if you lose your mobility, you lose your life. But if I do find myself on the ground, my number one goal is to get back to my feet while I'm either maintaining control or damaging the person that's on me. I pulled a guy into my guard one time on a raid over in Iraq, just because I was training so much jujitsu at the time because I loved doing sport fighting. And it immediately occurred in my head, because I had kit and gun and everything else on, and it immediately occurred in my head, if this guy pulls out a knife and shanks me in the taint, you know, I'm gonna be in a really, really bad way. So immediately I got him off of me and stood back up, and then just was like, I need to be more focused on combatives. But like a basic for combatives ground fighting is getting back to your feet, as opposed to sport fighting. If you're better on the ground than the other guy, well, you don't have to worry about somebody else running up and soccer kicking your head that you can't see. So those are, I think, some of the ways the basics are different.